In a recent video, I asked you guys to tell me what you thought about the Cade, Mobley, Barnes draft class in comparison to other draft classes as far as the quality of their basketball play. In this video, I'm going to share the results of that poll and then share with you my own thoughts about this. Another basketball video. All right, so 16% of you said this is a way better than most draft classes class, 46% said a little better, 24% said average, 8% said a little worse, and 6% said way worse than most draft classes. I'm actually going to put myself in way better. I'm very close between the way better than most draft classes and a little better than most draft classes. You know, one of the things that's interesting in the basketball card world, you wouldn't see this reflected. I mean, when you look back at the different years recently, I mean, you could see like Luka, you know, kind of takes the cake within the last few years as the rookie whose card values seem to go up the most. But when I actually look at like a handful of players, you know, maybe at least the top 5 or the top 10, I haven't seen a class this deep and this strong in quite a long time. You know, it's not reflected in the sports card values. Part of that is because of the oversupply. Part of that is because the nature of the economy at the time that this particular class became, you know, started having cards made. It put them in a time when their cards were kind of in a precarious moment. But I don't think that had anything to do with the quality of the basketball play from this class, because I think it's really phenomenal. I mean, the other upcoming new class is really interesting too. I mean, with especially Paolo Banchero and Benedict Mathurin, those guys are awesome, and maybe who knows what Chet Holmgren's going to be like. Even though Paolo Banchero could amazingly be, you know, he could be a top 5 player in the NBA someday, possibly. I mean, he's really impressed this early on. But the Cade, Mobley, Barnes draft class is being underrated by a lot of people in the sports card world and elsewhere. I think Cade Cunningham is destined to be one of these like consistently top 5, top 10 kind of players in the NBA eventually. I think Mobley and Barnes are going to be foundation pieces that a team can be built around, like a championship quality team can be built around as they hit their prime. I just think they're amazing players. You know, even other Franz Wagner is amazing. You know, I don't think he'll ever be number 1 on a championship team, but he could easily be a high number 2 on a championship quality team over time. I think he's really good, overlooked by the sports card market as well, overlooked by a lot of casual fans. Giddey, you know, I think is also, you know, for being, you know, just, I don't even know, maybe he's the 7th or 8th best player in this draft class. He's definitely the best 7th or 8th best player in a draft class for a long time that I can think of. That's one of the things I like about this draft class. Getting a phone call. Hi.
Did you eat lunch?
No, not yet. I'm recording YouTube videos. The depth of this draft class is really phenomenal. I mean, I don't know who the 7th best rookie would be from like Luka Doncic's draft class, but I am absolutely certain, like, if Giddey is the 7th best from this draft class, which he might be, maybe 6th best, possibly 5th. I don't think I would go that high though. But I think compared to any of the other draft classes I've seen in quite a while, he would be the best, 6th best, you know, pick of the draft kind of thing. You know, that I just think it's very deep, and there's a lot of people a lot of players in there who are kind of overlooked. Now, from a basketball card standpoint, a deep draft doesn't necessarily help basketball card values, because you have this amazing quality that can be spread out over so many players. And in the past, maybe a thing to do with a deep draft class like this would be to buy sealed wax, but I also don't know if that's necessarily the best thing to do when you have such an overabundance of supply. If there is, I can't think, you know, like Prism, for example, is kind of like considered to be like the main thing, but I don't necessarily think getting, you know, sealed wax of Prism basketball from, even though that draft class is super deep, I don't necessarily see that as a good idea because of the oversupply. So I think that makes it a little precarious for what to do as far as the basketball card world. But just from a basketball standpoint, I don't think we've seen a draft this deep in a very long time, and I think that makes it so fun. You know, when I look at the future of the NBA, you know, some of the names that are new now are going to be like the core people we hear about in 5 years' time, that we hear about again and again. And I feel like this new guard of players in the NBA is absolutely phenomenal. I feel like the quality of the game is getting better. The quality of the players is getting better. You know, you can say whatever you want to say about the emphasis on the 3 and like the way that the offenses work that are so spread out. Like, they're not quite as fun to watch as some of the previous eras of basketball. But just as far as the skill quality of the different players and the diversity of how they are good in so many different areas, I think is amazing. I think it's so fun to be able to watch these guys like a Mobley or a Jokic, who these 7-footers who can do things that, you know, that 6-footers are supposed to do, as well as a bunch of other stuff. I just think that's absolutely so fun to watch. And the athleticism, you know, and the conditioning so people can develop athleticism in just the right like niche areas that make them be able to be so good in what they do. I just think that the league is in good hands into the future, and I feel like this draft class is part of the reason for that. So anyway, that's my thought on this. Check you next one. Peace.